and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Barry Littleton is here. Tomorrow night, it is Host to Host with Race Hobbs. Wednesday night, Dr. Christopher Macklin. Thursday night, Fader night. Open lines all night long. Tonight, Barry Littleton is back. We're going to be discussing his life of contact and his most recent revelations into ET propulsion and engine systems. Barry is a graduate in psychology and sociology and ethnic studies from Wichita State University. And for the last 2 decades, Barry has been involved in the administration for at-risk youth, including cognitive behavioral modification and managing aggressive behavior. Barry's childhood experiences, including encountering a dis-incarnated people, strange playmates, and awakening not in his bedroom or house. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that in just a minute. At the age of 18, the experiences resulted in 4 separate encounters that totaled about 18 hours of missing time. The combined experiences of missing time, conscious encounters, and past life memories led him to do a vast amount of research in an attempt to verify and explain what was going on. He's physically been on several different craft and has seen several different types of being. His website is BarryLittleton.com. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Barry Littleton. Barry, welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm good, Jimmy. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the introduction.
Man, it's always great to hear your voice, Barry. What have you been up to? It's been about a year. What have you been up to, man?
You know, I've been kind of just trying to stay on top of things. These are trying times, as we can all tell, and just trying to see actually what I've always been more involved is it's one thing to be a contactee or experiencer, but it's another thing is that there's so many of us is can it benefit our daily lives? How can we start getting the scientific community involved? And how can it really help our lives and our society and our world? I think that's kind of what I've been really focusing on at present. So
yeah, and one of the things that I want to go through for those out there that aren't familiar with your experiences and your story, I want to do that, but I want to actually start here. There's an elephant in the room when it comes to Barry Littleton. And you know where I'm going, which is this. You know, the first time that I met you and I saw you speak, I was in the back of the hall and I'm listening, and I was like, this is one of the most compelling stories and experiences I've ever heard. And you speak so well and you're so genuine, and the way that you can relate to everybody. And so at the end of that I went, wow, man, it's just amazing. But he's black. Wait a minute here. We don't get to hear this too often in the UFO community. And I went up to you immediately and said, Barry, great to meet you, but this is unusual. Why is it? So let's actually start out there. Why is it that we don't hear from the black community like we should? Because they're having the same experiences that we all are, but we don't hear from them. Why?
You know, it starts off by, I think, what you're seeing in what we all see in the mainstream and the media. First is that all of the extraterrestrials that we see never look of ethnicity of any type. You know, and I think you and I cracked the joke already. The Kevin Sorbo, all the Pleiadians look like Kevin Sorbo or Fabio. And, you know, I've got a little heat for that, but it's true. And when I would look at other contact experiences, that's what I would see. So there was no one that looked like me. And on top of that, other contactees themselves did not look like me. I found maybe, you know, Barney Hill, and there was the other gentleman, but I mean, that's about it. So that was very much discouraging for me, but as a population, it's discouraging. And also, I think we have other things that are indoctrinated, such as religions that involve anything that you're dealing with that isn't in your scriptural writings is demonology automatically. So that's another thing that makes people keep their mouths closed, culturally especially.
Yeah, well, you say Kevin Sorbo. I think all of the female, no, but seriously, all of the female ETs look like Cheryl Teagues or Bo Derek or something, right?
Well, you know, I was thinking National Lampoon. I was looking for a red Ferrari, Christy Brinkley. They all look like that.
There you go. That's exactly right. I've got something in my throat tonight, man, and I don't know what it is. Scratching. It's scratching me. But yeah, you know, there's got to be other things going on. But that's what impressed me so much about you and your honesty and your gratitude for just, you know, being given the opportunity to speak out about this. And it's something that impresses me so much about you. And now let's back up, Barry.
Okay.
Everything for you, as far as you know, started actually very, very young. And I want to do all of this in the first segment. So there's 2 or 3 different events here that I want to cover in this segment. But the first one, well, they're all pretty interesting, but the first one is very interesting, where you had a playmate. Tell us about that.
Well, at times, this kid, I thought he was a kid, would show up and play with me for just a little bit. And it was normally like, what comes to mind always is I used to try to make these dams when my brother was washing his car or something like that would be on the side to stop the water from going on the side of the curb. Like it's going to flood the world or something. So I'd make these dams. And the first time I met him, he rode up on this old Schwinn and got off. He has on a hat, an older hat, and these glasses that look like kind of what used to be called kitty cats. They're kind of big. So in that way, I thought he was a kid, you know, but he didn't go to my school. And I would ask him, like, number 2 is he was a telepath. All right. And other people had seen him. Like he saved me one day on the playground. So other kids had seen him. So obviously this says what this being was doing optically to our optical nerves and how they can actually make impressions on our consciousness. Anyway, so one thing about him, though, was he was a telepath. And myself, like so many young people, I think like so many of your listeners right now, are telepaths. And it gets frustrating because a lot of people can't do it. And it's not the way that you would think if you watch something on TV. Real telepathy doesn't work like that. And the fact that other people can't seem to pick up or transmit can get frustrating. But this kid could. And since he was helping me make dams, I assumed that this was important to him also. And I say, well, you don't go to my school, and you probably don't go to Price, the other one, the other school across the field. And he says, no, I'm here visiting family. And then, by the time I was always well supervised, by the time my brother starts coming over there, he'd just get on his bike and take off the few times this had happened. So that would be the first way this starts. And then I saw this individual again. Okay. So this would be around 7 years old. I started having a lot of experiences, and they were very, very cognitive ones. All right. And this would include him also. But when I got older, I was in the 6th grade, I had something that I called the acid rain experience that verified that this gentleman was not a human. You want me to keep going?
No, this is such go. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay.
That was with the Weekly Reader, right?
Yes, the Scholastic News.
Yeah, Scholastic News, same thing, right?
Yeah. So a couple of years went by, and one night I wake up, and this is how this would normally happen. I wake up, and I don't sleep well then nor now. This is one of the reasons, but I woke up not in my home, on board a craft. And I don't know about you, but I was one of those kids when you're always felt like a field trip to me. And so I would very much try to pay attention to what's happening and examine everything that I could. But I woke up on board this craft, and what it looks like is there's these metal plates in this room, but there's a huge screen. And on this screen, I can see these look like saucer-shaped UFOs over some type of a rocky pass, like a mountain pass that was snow-topped. And I can see these craft, what is sucking up what looks like clouds underneath them. And then they're emitting some sort of a light. And on the side of this deck plates, on the side of this screen, is this insectoid being. And this individual had told me his name when I encountered him in my regular world. He told me his name telepathically. What he gave me, it sounded more like a Yandar, but he puts in my mind a Z on it, Xandar, Zandar. But it sounded like pronunciation-wise Yandar. But anyway, on this craft, he's floating over these deck plates, and he's got on this uniform. And this being is an insectoid. And when I say this, so often people think, oh, it was a mantid. I want to make this very clear. He was not a mantid. He looked much more like what we would call a grasshopper, a real grasshopper with a type of a gray, milky eyes. Wow. But his face looked like that, no antenna. But his body proportions were about that of mine, and I was a small child. But he had on this uniform. And this uniform was very much gave him the impression, and the energy I'm getting off him is an ancient, a teacher of old. And telepathically, he's blasting me with information immediately. And when you're dealing with that type of a telepathy on board one of these craft, and one is these beings tend to answer your questions mentally before you can formulate them and ask them.
Right.
So everything comes in like a burst, a pack of emotion, feeling, and information that comes all at once. And sometimes it can take years to decipher it if you're not cognitively, in tune. Even then. Anyway, so he's getting this information, and something that he's telling about what I'm witnessing with these craft is he says he's telepathically, the acid rain is very bad for your planet. And we're trying to reverse some of it, but we're having problems with it.
Now, fast forward. Now, let's go back to the classroom in the 6th grade, and what happens?
Okay. This experience goes on. Then, probably about a week later,
right?
On a Friday, I believe it was, my teacher had us read these things called the Scholastic News, current events, very, very informative. But it was a bit of a drag because she would always choose somebody to get up and read or have to sit there and read.
Right.
And this week she chose me, and I'll never forget it because this particular cover had the Statue of Liberty on there. And what this article I had to read was that the Statue of Liberty was currently, certain parts of it were closed down due to it being repainted due to the damage caused by acid rain. And, when I actually saw that, I'm trying to read that, I screamed, I kind of yelled a little, acid rain. Everybody started laughing. I forget it. It looked like I was clowning around, but I wasn't. I was so shocked because during this experience, when he told me acid rain, I spent a lot of time telepathically asking where these beings are from. Where is he from? I mean, let's keep it real. Mm-hmm. If you're really in the presence of a non-human, for real, and there's a lot of things that goes on, a dizziness, a type of a atmosphere that's on board these craft. But when you're in presence of a non-human, it could be a trick. It could be a lot of things. Despite the energy, the love feeling I'm getting, I ask questions. Where are you from? What do you want? Things of that nature. So
yeah, it had to have been pretty strange for you to be exposed to acid rain from Xandar, and then but you hadn't heard of it before, right? This is a new subject. It was new to the world at the time. And then boom, a week later, there it is in print. And at that age, did you understand what was really happening?
Yeah, I mean, well, I knew that these were real because these experiences were, they weren't astral or dreamlike. They were physical because they had physical problems, like this thing I call this temporal aphasia, this sickness that you get when you're on board these craft. It's because they're not in the same dimension. We go in that later, but that's something that kind of will linger with you and feeling like you've not slept, the insomnia and things like that. When you've been somewhere physically, you actually know. But when I saw that in writing like that, it definitely blew me away because it definitely crossed over from what was happening to me at night to my daily life, and there it was in black and white right there. So.
Right. And the next thing, this is all so interesting to me. I mean, it almost sounds like fun. I mean, these are experiences that almost nobody gets a chance to have. But the incident that happened with your mom and the flying saucer, right, at the mall, take us through that, because that's when you start to get like real world confirmation from an adult, right? Which is always important, right, Barry?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, as a child, it was my birthday, so I was 7 years old, and I had gotten a toy that anyone my age, a little older, younger, will remember. It was called Stretch Armstrong. I got a Stretch Armstrong, and the first day I stretched it a few times, and he started leaking this like yellow orange stuff. And my mother said it looked like nuclear goo, so he's going to take it back and get another one. And we're going back, and we're going from one store to another at this place called Eastgate Mall. I never forget, we're leaving one store that used to be called Ardan's, and we're going over to this toy shop to trade. And as we're going, walking over there, the part of the mall is outside. There's this hum. And my mother starts pointing at this ship. I look up and I see it, and it's this a craft with windows. Almost looks like it has these metal grates between the windows, and it's generating this hum, and it's kind of got a type of a tilt. And my mom points at it and goes, "Oh, they must be filming a commercial for one of those car lots over there." And after a second, all of a sudden, it was a ways away, and then it was a dot, and it was gone. At that point, she started saying, no, it wasn't. But what's so interesting is that I had seen this and then kind of just more or less forgot about it as time went on.
Right.
Yeah. And, it got to the point to where I'm about 31 years old. And my mother actually went over to have lunch with her one day. And she had me over because she was throwing out some magazines I had left there. And it was Omni Magazine, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Omni Magazine because in the middle they had something called the anti-gravity section that was nothing about UFOs and contact. So I enjoyed that. I was looking at it, and there were actually a bunch of UFOs, different types they had on this page. It was 2 pages worth. And she walked by and she goes, "Oh, that looks like the one that you and I saw." And I looked up at her and I said, "What?" She said, "Oh, you remember that?" And she looks at me, she goes, "Mr. Star Trek guy with your creepy memory, you don't remember that UFO we saw?" And when she started talking about it, it triggered my memory. But, even to the point to where I had said to my brother at one point, I said, well, maybe I didn't see that thing. He started yelling at me, heck yeah, you saw it, man. You guys talked me to death about it. So.
I don't have anything like that with my family. I mean, no, with most of my family. I've got other parts of my family is just as whacked out as you and I are, Barry. But but most of my family, no, we don't have those conversations. I don't have those experiences. I would love to have something like that with my parents. Now, next, moving past that, which is so cool. 18 years old. You're 18 and you have it's like 18 and 18. You're 18 years old and there's 18 hours of missing time that happened with you and your girlfriend. Take us through that.
Okay. After the acid rain experience, I wanted more confirmation for what happened, especially to try to maybe grab a piece of equipment or something like that. Then I would tell people what had happened to me. But the contact stopped for a while at that point. So from about the years of about 12 years old to 18, I didn't have any. Well, I had one that kind of about right around 16 and a half, 17 that I think you want to talk about later, that engine. But
Yes.
then it goes to what I call these adult onset experiences. So the contact stopped. And then one time I'm actually with the lady I was dating at that time, and we had went out in the country to meditate and raise some kundalini and all these good things. But out there, I started having really deep meditation. And then I start feeling this buzzing, and I open up my eyes, and there is a craft, like almost pulses in over this pond by where we were parked. All right, and it's got a light on top of it that is rotating, and every time it comes our way, it feels like it's tuning me in, like a radio station. All right, and just to change real quick, that's one experience of 3 that I had with her that involved missing time. When this was all said and done, it was missing. We're missing about 4.5 hours of missing time. So those in the one I had like that, I was by myself. So I didn't have anybody I could share it with in terms of that type of relevant person to see. That type of delusion is not shared when you see one of those craft. So I'm sorry. So I don't want to go too far from where you're trying to take us here.
Yeah. So no, let's stay right there. So the craft is above you, the both of you. You were sitting in the car, or were you outside?
We're sitting in the car and trying to meditate.
Right.
I never forget it because she's sitting in Indian style in my passenger seat.
Right.
Extremely uncomfortable, if you ask me. But anyway, and I was on the other side, but this thing pulses in, and it's tuning me in, and I'm watching it, and it's over the pond, so it's maybe, I don't know, oh gosh, several hundreds of feet away, but it's very visible. And I try to kind of tell her, I say, hey, do you see this? And she kind of shut me up. She said, hey, whatever that is, she didn't even open up her eyes. Whatever that is, man, that's your thing. That's your thing. Just leave me be. So I just didn't say anything else. And I kind of shut my eyes and tried to keep in tune with whatever this thing was.
What happened next?
I'm seeing things. I'm like some sort like beings, information, technology, but then all of a sudden there's a break in it, or like I'm not there or something. And I open up my eyes, and she's got her eyes, or she's got her head between the dashboard and the window, looking at this thing. And I told her, I said, that's what I said. I said, yes, it's been there for a long time. I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't pay attention. Now take it easy, or you might mess this up. And she starts looking at me and looking at this thing, and she starts kind of hyperventilating. And then this thing takes off like a flash, like goes around the side. And then suddenly the car is turned around, and we're outside of the car. And we're watching this thing. Yeah.
And that's when you realize that there was a big chunk of time gone.
No, not yet, because there was like what the Native Americans say when the ships dance in the sky. This thing began dancing, and then another one came up that she was watching. But this thing danced, and it did. The only thing I can tell you is a morphing. it morphed from what appeared to be this, for lack of a better name, Pleiadian type of metal craft saucer. It looked like that somewhat, and it started morphing into what looked like these crystals, molecule crystals, and it was huge, like one ball crystal, like with the stalagmites coming off, a rod connecting it, and it was like 3. And it starts moving in the sky. As it's moving, it's like almost turning, and it's emitting a type of a light. And I'll tell you, Jimmy Church, to see that, even after the experience was over, it took me a long time to not just accept that, but to try to explain it or even research what it was I saw physically. I mean, it takes you into things like Ezekiel's wheel and stuff like that, but it still wasn't that. It still goes beyond that.
Right.
And just for anybody that wants a reference, I finally did find something at one point. I had a book by J.J. Hertog, The Keys of Enoch, and there's something in there he calls tripyramidal and bipyramidal Merkabahs. I saw a tripyramidal Merkabah, what this thing turned into, when actually, better description. So that just took it to all new experience. And then we're trying to get back to town, but after all this show is over and everything, we're trying to get back to town because I got to record this information because I can see these different beings. I can see the technology. I've just had some type of experience, but it starts fleeting. By the time we get to town, we're looking at each other saying, what exactly happened? It becomes more fragmentized the further you get away from the event horizon. And I think that's due to the distinct difference in vibrations between the beings the craft has, and what we have.
You have a good way of explaining this because I totally see it and feel it and understand it. Barry, are you still in touch with your girlfriend?
No, we don't. Occasionally I might bump into her where I live, just occasionally, but not really. No. She chose not really to acknowledge the contact after it stopped. I don't think she was really comfortable with it because it really does change your life when something like that happens, even if it's positive contact. I mean, it really can rock your world, for lack of a better term. Yeah.
So you guys weren't able to sit down and try to talk through this?
Yeah, to some degree we did try. And what at the time and for a while after, until we eventually dissolved, we did try to understand it more. But everything was so still fragmentized from each experience, and that I hadn't put all the puzzles, the pieces together yet. I mean, I still haven't, for that matter, but I know a little more than I did then. So
absolutely incredible. Well, let's take a break right here. We'll pick up where we're leaving off when we come back. Our guest tonight, Barry Littleton. That's right. Barry is back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And you can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Barry, what's your Twitter?
Nightcloud. Barry Littleton on there. Yeah.
We'll find it and get it posted.
I'll look at it.
Our guest tonight, Barry Littleton. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to forbiddenknowledge.tv. That's forbidden knowledge with the number 4, forbiddenknowledge.tv. Again, visit forbiddenknowledge.tv today.
Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, fade or not, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Right there in the commercial break, you heard the voice of Race Hobbs. Race Hobbs is going to be joining us tomorrow night for Host to Host. So stand by for that. It's going to be another great conversation with Race. And then Wednesday night, it is Dr. Christopher Macklin. And Thursday, of course, is Fader night with another open lines all night long. Barry, one of these nights, you got to come in and man the phones with me, and we'll just take phone calls all night long. You down for that?
I'm down. It'll be a pleasure.
Man, it'll be so much fun. So much fun. Now, tonight, we are going to be talking about tech. and you posted a video recently about an engine, and we're going to come back to that. But there's another element to the story which leads us into that, which is physically being on board these craft and the things that you witnessed while you were there. Take us through the first time, what you think is the first time that you were indeed on board one of these craft. What happened?
You mean, okay, are we going from what I call, I've got the childhood experiences, but then I've got the adult onset experiences.
Yeah.
Which one do you want?
Okay. Well, see, the childhood one, we're going to go with the adult. I'm going to let everybody know the childhood experience of Barry watching himself on the street. That's a whole show in itself. That's a whole,
wow, you remember that one?
Oh man, are you kidding me? And it the whole thing, that whole experience for you reminds me, the way that you remember and tell the story, it's like a Steven Spielberg childhood movie. Right? It's just like, it's a tremendous experience. But we're going to spend so much time talking about the adult side of it. So let's go with part 2.
Okay. Something I want to throw in also, because you had mentioned like what's it's actually, and on board these craft, both experiences, but especially on the adult onset ones, like the first craft, it was really a lot of this sickness. And what they're communicating to me, they're saying that there's a temporal distortment, and they're calling this sickness temporal aphasia. And what it is because the inside and outside of the craft are not in the same dimension. And it says a lot about, what we can actually survive in. And on top of that, and most of these rooms is this type of a mist. It varies in the different rooms, but the mist, it smells like, to me, like a type of maybe ammonia or Windex. It smells like that, but it makes it hard to breathe. And then you've got this temporal aphasia making you very dizzy. It's like being on a merry-go-round all the time and being pulled down. That's a horrible feeling as far as trying to just function,
Right.
So that's one thing that makes it difficult to try to actually it stops somebody from being a threat to a certain degree, but I was no threat. But these are higher beings. So anyway,
it could also squash the fun of the experience. I was on a boat. I never get seasick. I was on a boat filming for History Channel. We did a few different trips out. Well, anyway, this was like the last time. First 2 times out on the boat, no issues. I've never gotten seasick. But we go out for another day of shooting, and we're out in the Pacific Ocean. And everybody on the boat, camera crew, producers, directors, sound and lights, everybody got seasick, right? Everybody, including me. It killed. I couldn't concentrate. It wasn't an enjoyable experience. And if you ask me details about that day, I'm not going to recall anything but getting sick.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It completely, and it makes it to where it's hard to even control your motor dexterity, your manual dexterity.
Yeah,
and
throws
things
you
like
off.
that.
Throws your game off.
To a point of where I'm about to pass out, and it brings the experience to an end. They have to put me in a different room that's, I think, a hyperbaric chamber, and they're giving me a type of oxygen before they send me back. You know what I mean? So that's just because I think it's not the environment that we can't. Just the experiences I've had, I'll tell you, I couldn't survive there that long. You know what I mean? So going and having beyond what I experienced, it would be difficult.
How did you get on the ship?
This one, it was a blue beam that had pulled me in.
From your home? From your home? Where were you?
Oh, I thought you meant the first adult experience.
Yeah, first adult experience, the blue beam.
Yeah, it was a blue beam that pulled me in. Yeah. But when it actually was flashing on me, it looked like it was kind of yellowish.
But where were you?
In the car.
You were in a car. Okay.
In my car. Yeah, with someone else.
You were, oh, really? Now, I didn't know that. Okay, so are you driving or are you passenger?
No, aren't you talking about you're talking about the adults. So we're talking about that first experience we had just spoke about, actually, where I was with my ex and she was in the car.
Okay. Well, continue.
Yeah, that would have been that time.
Okay. So blue beam comes down. It's yellow at first, blue beam, and you're taken aboard the craft.
Yeah. I can feel like a levitation, it feels like, but then things start getting very, very fuzzy from there. You know what I mean? Because everything starts getting fragmented. And then by the time I'm feeling a break in this and I'm like getting even more dizzy, there's all of a sudden I'm there with her. You know what I mean? And I could see her and she's looking at this craft out there. So it was interfering with what they were doing somehow. You know what I mean? But actually the experience for me, I found out later, as far as missing time, I had already been on board that craft and that was the end of it. But for me, it didn't seem that way. It seemed like just a flash. You know, but then you're having these flashes and everything is actually fragmented and it's very disconcerting. And then what makes it worse is the further you get from the event horizon, the more it starts to fade. And I think that happens for maybe a lot of people, and why a lot of, same as people can't remember their dreams, but it's different when you have a physical experience, and you're having physical symptoms from it. It's not the same as having an astral projection or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And so you're looking at the craft, physically how big it is, but once you're inside of it, did that change too?
Oh, yes. The first room inside of this thing would look like a door. First of all, the bottom of it has these four, looks like gyrospheres, these balls, but on the side, it's just like a type of a door or something. And inside of that room, that's where I would have been pulled in. And just that room alone, like on my YouTube channel, I call that an engine room. That's another engine. And it's got this blue beam in it and a black box in it. But this room itself, the illustration doesn't quite give it justice in terms of this thing was like the size of a cargo bay. It was large. And for all practical purposes, this would have been nearly as large as what I saw outside over the pond.
Right.
Which was maybe, over a little 100 feet in diameter, I would imagine. So, but by that's just one room in there.
Yeah, so you walk in and it's as big or bigger than the whole craft was that you were seeing outside, but now it is just one room inside of a huge interstellar spacecraft.
Yes. And then, the things, and when moving to another room on some of these, like it's like kind of the rooms, it seems like they almost materialize around you to a degree. Cause like the next room I was in has, to me, these things, there's like this beam in the middle, and on the side, they're like these holes. And the inside of this craft, what I want to say, and this takes us into ship construction, to me, it felt quite similar to a type of a mushroom, a fungus, a harder fungus, not like slimy, like what we touch here. You touch a toadstool here, it's kind of slimy. This wasn't. This had a harder consistency, but it felt organic. That's when I knew this thing was organic, when I was touching it. So this craft itself was organic. But in this next room, there's like these on this column in the middle of the room, looks like there are these windows. They almost look like garage door windows. And being that I'm suffering from this temporal aphasia, but I'm a curious person, I wonder what's in there. So it's like looking inside of somebody's garage, what's in there? But then all of a sudden, zoom, you're in that room. And then the temporal aphasia gets even worse after you're going to one of these rooms. So I don't know if it's more like you're being digested inside this craft, or what it is intergeometrically spatial wise, why these rooms are kind of moving around you. But it makes it very hard to keep your cookies, if you can give a better word.
Yeah. I was going to say you must have felt nauseous.
Yes, horribly.
And so in the garage door room, what did that consist of?
That room there was I would say it seemed almost like it was a deck or something, because it had a circular shape to it outside of this beam. but on the sides are like these little, they look almost like these little holes, these little glowing holes. And like when I got too close to one of those, I got sucked down. It felt like I was being sucked down, and almost like, I mean, it's very odd, like going through a tube. It makes you wonder what being birthed actually feels like, if it's similar to that. And in the next room in there was something that I call the biodome. That's a different room where there's these two consoles, and there's another being sitting on this Xandar that I've seen before, sitting in this chair. And something else I'll throw about this craft, on each level, is there are these eggs, these very large eggs. They look like almost glass on the outside and the front. On the back, they have a type of a metal that has tubes that go into these organic walls. But inside of these eggs is an even thicker mist than what you're breathing on the craft. But there are also these different light configurations inside this egg, like different types of plasma configurations, looks like different types of light, maybe condensed light, and things like that. And so I assumed at first these were actually power sources of some type. But I come to find out later that those lights inside there, those configurations, are awareness, they're beings, perhaps even command officers for all I know.
So they were like brains.
I don't know. All I can say is there are all sorts of different receptacles that can be used for consciousness. But one of the reasons they stay inside those eggs, though, is because that as non-corporeal beings or whatever, that environment in there is more conducive to them than even the part of the ship that can support you and I. So there's some beings there too on that part of the ship, but they're some of them look kind of phased out, some of them. So that tells me that they're out of vibration, they're out of sync.
Were they letting you just walk around?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's nobody stop me. One is I'm so sick, I'm not going to be much of a threat. But it's like you're being escorted also, and you're getting telepathic contact the whole time you're in there. You're in constant contact of telepathically, even sometimes when you're not in exact presence of one of these beings. But in this craft itself, I went to several rooms inside this craft that I'm telling you I saw over the pond. And that took me a long time to deal with because it made no sense. And when you start dealing with weird concepts like what Doctor Who calls transdimensional transcendentalism, why that TARDIS is like that, I don't think that's such a joke after all. And like, give you an example, the first room in this engine room that I went into on this craft that had this black box in it. When I'm seeing this black box, I'm looking up first, it's like it's at a 90-degree angle on the wall, and it's very large. And it looks like it has these spokes going into it that I think are some type of carbon tubes of some type, I think. But looking at this thing, it's making me very sick, and that's when I'm getting the information that they're telling me that this box and this box is temporally displaced. So what does that mean?
I don't know. What does that mean?
It means that actually these engines and these craft, like this takes us into what are these craft, all right? These craft are actually grown over wormholes, over micro wormholes or singularities. And I can tell you what they had informed me that this material is that they're using. And I think for our science, really look closely at what they're calling the new metamaterial skin coatings. I think that's very much what we're dealing with here. They've got some type of a quasi-crystal compound that they're combining with metals that are mined from planets that are devoid of Van Allen belts, some of them devoid of atmospheres. Those planets, the cosmic radiation that hits the metals on those planets is unlike anything we know of. So they use those metals combined with this quasi-crystal type of material, all right? And then this is a big one, and I really want to hit this, that they use a type of a fungus, some type of a fungus, and the last deal is they use DNA from the crew. And they use this as a compound, and they grow this over this micro wormhole or a singularity in space, maybe deep space. But so when you see things like actually a mushroom field or something like that, or mushrooms, how they pop up like that, If you want to think of Star Trek terms of utopia planitia, that's what you'd be dealing with more with the shipyard in space, these things being grown over singularities. So that means that the engine itself is dimensionally displaced, temporally displaced. And that's what causes a lot of that sickness too. Sorry, I feel like I'm going too far left.
No, man, I'm so with you right now. The fungus part is very, very, very interesting. And for you to suggest that, did they suggest that? Did you get that information that this was, something organic?
I got that from them.
Yeah, right,
they transmitted that to me. And you know what's cool about that, Jimmy, is it's one thing to be at that age and get it and say it. And even since I decided finally to come forward, for whatever reason, I still don't know. But no, I'm just kidding. But when I decided to come forward, I was talking about this from the beginning. But right now, science can back that up. I even did a video on this because right now, NASA just started announcing that they're trying to make these structures and habitations on Mars and the moon that are made out of mushrooms, out of mushroom mycelium. Okay, so that right there shows you that these are structures that can survive interstellar space, especially when you're dealing with something like spores and what our science calls Bracewell probes. You remember 2001, the thing that came to the moon, the probe that was waiting for Earth to become a Type 1 civilization.
Right.
But in terms of a real Bracewell probe, these actually spores, even one like a psilocybin. I know that Sheldrake and what's the name talk about that quite a bit. Terrence McKenna talk about that, but they're not wrong. They're impervious to cosmic radiation, so that means they could be the perfect probe for an interstellar deal that comes here and symbiotically connects with our Earth. And stepping that up just a little bit with what I said about the craft themselves and the fact that these crafts are alive, and it takes us to a different modality of contact. Because what I saw is these beings in this alliance I've dealt with, they're much more involved and concerned with the Earth, as it seems like it says something about our free will zone for humanity, as we can exterminate ourselves here. But they're much more concerned about the Earth itself. And when you start looking at things like how trees and mushrooms have a connection, and if you're looking at a network for an organic craft, look at the tree system. It's a big one. How the trees are connected at the internet, not just like the movie Avatar, but let's take it a step forward to really an organic craft and things like what the scientists are now talking about, the deep biosphere. The deep biosphere, they're impressing this to me. I'm waking up with this information, at this date. I didn't know exactly what the deep biosphere was. And when I find out, it's actually the ocean between the inner Earth and us that contains 95% of Earth's undiscovered bacteria. They say it's the size of all of our oceans put together. So when you see craft going into the Earth, really, some of them are communicating with the deep biosphere and the organic components of the symbiotic components of the Earth. I think that's not being addressed enough. We're so much into the nut and bolts that we're missing some of the other parts of contact isn't coming out.
Oh, we know nothing. Yeah, we know nothing, Barry. We know nothing. Come on, we're still. even if we were exposed to all of this, scientists and physicists, and we're given all of this information, they wouldn't know what to do with it. We're not quite there yet. Now, okay, a couple of quick questions before we get to the break. Did you bump into any other humans when you were on board?
The only time that I had seen actually other humans, there was the first that was experience that I think you want to talk about, where I saw this engine. That was the first one I had before the missing time in adult experiences. And what I saw was on the deck, these people, and they look like they're halfway transparent. I know why now, because they're in their dream body having these experiences. So people that say they have dream experiences, contact, and astral, I don't discount that. And what these people were doing were touching this light on this engine. They're walking into this deck and they're touching the light. And the reason why I know they were in their dream bodies and why they're having those experiences, they won't be there about to throw up like me. I was there about to throw up.
Right.
You see, because I'm there physically. So they don't have that same physical parameters. That temporal aphasia won't interrupt their contact experience like it was mine.
Could they see you?
No, apparently not. That which shocks me to some degree, because I was sure I've run into 3 of these people in my real life. One of them, and it's so interesting. And when I talked to this individual, I was just sure they would just recognize me, and they didn't, and they weren't fully aware of the experience. So so that says something about the vibrational differences and how hard it is for us to retain awareness and memory when we're in our dream bodies and dreams. It's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me to dream lucidly like that, and to have your cognitive abilities in the dream body, in the energy body, in the astral body. That is not easy. Some people are gifted to do it, but I'm not one of them. So I have to work at that.
Did they, really quick, did they give you any indication about where they were from?
Yeah, the first one would be Xandar. And he told me to go when he's communicating, and that's on that acid rain deal. That's where he's from. He's telling me to go like 900 million light years out beyond the space-time continuum. And he was telling me at first I wouldn't understand, but I thought it was heavy. I watched science fiction, so I thought it was heavy, but he's right. I didn't understand what that meant. And he says, and later I found out, though, there's a sector of space that's known as Abell 2256. And the Abell clusters of galaxies they're so far out there near the Big Bang out there or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm finding out. But he says, since I didn't understand that, where beyond the space-time continuum, to focus on the 3rd and 4th planets beyond Pluto. They were jumping off bases for them to deal with the density in the solar system. And I thought, I'm wasting time. I see now the experience, drilling him to make sure I'm not being deceived. Because at that time, there was no 3rd or 4th planets outside of Pluto. They barely found Chiron, its moon. And so I asked if I was being deceived. And he's saying, you don't understand because you haven't found him yet. Then for this, I'm in my 30s, probably, I don't know what it was, 2005. They discovered trans-Neptunian objects. And that's the different Kuiper belt that's outside of Pluto.
That's right.
It's actually there might even be a black dwarf out there, meaning we're in a binary star system that's making them attract out there. But anyway, there's several of those planetoids out there that are the size of Pluto almost. And there is a 3rd and a 4th. They've even got names now. And all I can think is, my goodness. And what he said about that is, what he meant when he's saying that those are bases that we use to jump off into your solar system because we have problems with the density and we could get trapped there. Even being there is painful. So I think that says a lot about what it's like for a higher vibrational being just to be in our solar system, let alone in our atmosphere. And when you're dealing with the concept that some of these beings are coming from so far out, they're not just maybe different configurations of plasma or whatever, Jimmy, they're actually thought forms. And when you get thought forms in our atmosphere, they get out of these ships, they start taking on physical attributes, maybe some ways they looked millions of years ago. But I think that's an issue for some of them. Well, some of them won't get off the ship.
They won't get off unless they look like Kevin Sorbo. See, if they, because then they can walk down the street. But this is what is so fascinating about that is Caltech is looking so hard at the gravitational effects that are happening with these large planet bodies outside of our solar system that aren't reflecting our sun. So we can't see them with the telescope, but the measurements state and the math states that they are there. The gravitational effects are happening, including Pluto, which is 17 degrees off in our solar system. It's not flat with the rest of us. But they know that the pull is happening. It's throwing Pluto off. It's throwing Neptune off. And they know that something's out there. And they're going to eventually find it. And they're suspecting possibly thousands of these, out there in the Kuiper Belt. But it's beyond the light of our sun, so it doesn't pick up any reflection, so we don't see it. They're dark, and these are new scientific discoveries. You wouldn't have known about this before 2005. We're just now finding out about this. The latest studies have come out of Caltech in 2018. Absolutely fascinating that you would have found out about that beforehand. Let's take a break right here, Barry. We got to do it.
Gotcha.
Barry Littleton is back. When we come back, we're going to get into this engine room. It's fascinating. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Come join us for the Star Wars UFOs and Artificial Intelligence Conference, November 6th through the 8th at the Aquarius Resort in Laughlin, Nevada. A full weekend of events with Grant Cameron, James Fox, Alan Stivelman, Sid Goldberg, Jaime Maussan, Lynn Katai, Paul Hynek, and another dozen great speakers and presenters. Special Fade to Black Sky Watches with Hoffman's Optics on Thursday and Friday nights, movie premieres, a cocktail party, a dinner gala. Get your discount ticket packages today at StarWorksUSA.com. I'll be there along with the entire Fade to Black crew. Start planning your weekend now for the Star Wars UFOs and Artificial Intelligence Conference, November 6th through the 8th at the Aquarius Resort in Laughlin, Nevada. Just visit StarWorksUSA.com. Go Beckley Tepe.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Permanent industrial glue impossible to remove? Not anymore, because Handyman Formula by D-Bond is a patented chemical adhesive remover. It's used in the building and home maintenance industry, but now it's available for your home use, for your DIY projects. Unglue stickers, silicone rubber, labels, price tags, flex tape, weather stripping, carpet glue, wood glue, liquid nails, even 3M 5200. And it dissolves graffiti. Yeah, graffiti. Handyman Formula by D-Bond works, and it's safe to use on most surfaces. No need to call a professional. Don't get out the pliers and blowtorch. Just apply a little Handyman Formula by D-Bond and wait 90 seconds, then quickly and easily pull the items apart. Get unstuck. Visit DBondHandymanFormula.com. That's Dbond.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Barry Littleton is here. Full night of his life of ET contact. It's absolutely incredible. Tomorrow night, Race Hobbs, host to host. Wednesday night, Dr. Christopher Macklin. And, of course, Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now, Barry, let's enter that engine room. Let's go into this engine room. When we start to go through this, let me ask you this up front. Is the craft, did they let you know, is the craft moving in a linear sense at a high speed, and that's how it's traveling? Or are they folding space? Are they doing something else where they're not spending a million years out there traveling? 800 million light years away is that's a long ways. So how is this engine used? Is it used to travel in a straight line, or are they doing something else with it?
I'm using it for a frequency jump and a change in frequency that begins through gravity modulation. So when looking at things, I think new technology now, like science is starting to get on gravity modification and gravity superconductors. I think that they're doing something to that event to actually create portals. And then so it's jumping from point to point through frequency though. And, perhaps once they go through actually the wormhole itself, since the ship is actually grown around a black hole, so they're accessing that black hole for their transport itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well,
that would be the propulsion itself would be the black hole it's built over.
Makes me wonder it makes me wonder what they're doing over at CERN, right, where they're creating all of these mini black holes.
Mm-hmm. I would even be more concerned about some of those exotic material, those exotic particles they're discovering that no one's hearing about, that are only existing for a millisecond. But I think they're getting some exotic particles that might be capable of all sorts of stuff.
I remember a couple of years ago, and this report came and went in the media. I found it and reported on it. Nobody else really picked up on the story. But outside of the ISS, the International Space Station, they found bacteria growing. Right? It was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Bacteria? Right? And so, the story came and went, and then nobody was talking about it. And, and think about what you're relaying to us right now, right?
Well, can I throw something at you real quick?
Sure, you toss.
Okay.
Toss.
As we talked, because everyone says we don't get any help here. But listen, so we just talked about the fungus aspect. Mm-hmm. Now, we have in Chernobyl and in Fukushima on the walls, you had growing what's called radiotropic fungus, which is a black fungus that was actually using I want to throw this in, melanin. It's using melanin pigmentation to convert radiation into the growth cycle. So it's using gamma radiation. I mean, that's what the Hulk does. But technically, what's become to me, all right, is that these types of fungus that are actually that were sent here from possibly a type 4, type 5 civilization that is existing on not just the nanoscope, but the pico. And that takes us all into, what would these beings be like that actually explore space through inner space? You know what I mean? But that I was understanding is that a lot of some scientists have quietly kind of suggested that this was sit here to help us with the radiation cleanup.
Very
and
interesting.
There again, we're back to the fungus again, and the fungus aspect and the symbiotic connection there.
And the acid rain.
Food for thought, if nothing else.
Yeah. The help is the health twist to this. The help twist. Well, I guess it's a health twist as well. Is very interesting. Not only with the fungus, but acid rain, right? That they were checking us out. The way that these engines were used, were you able to ask, how the engines were getting them through space? Were you able to get any info directly?
Only thing I can say, I would assume, is that it's these wormholes that they use actually, and when they enter the wormholes, they go through this dimensional shift. So I think they're using not just that; they might be using even part of what would be the divine field to a degree. And then I think once they get inside of there, it might be a matter of, is it instantaneous as a thought to get to the other side? I think it is. I don't even think it's like I always want to go Star Trek and go warp theory, but I think it's beyond that. I think it's almost instantaneously, because you're dealing with almost the realm of thought, and maybe the things of space and thought are not the separate things we think they are when you start getting.
Right. And let's get to the specifics on the engine itself. Okay. Take us through that. And first thing, when you first looked at it, what did you see?
Okay, I woke up and I was standing by this thing. I mean, you're talking about the video I just put out, that engine, right? The gyroscopic engine?
Yes.
Okay. I woke up and I'm standing by this thing. And it's emitting a type of a pulsation, all right? But what I want to say is it's got this, it's like a golden ball, and it looks like hexagon, actually, inside this ball. And it's glowing this type of a golden energy, a very deep golden energy, all right? And later these beings would inform me this light. They would call it living light and AGLE. Angelic golden liquid energy, which is some type of what we know as orgone energy that they polarized and put in more of an even prime energy capacity is what they're doing. So anyway, this engine though, it's got this ball, and around this ball look like there are these rings, and they're moving. All right, and then this thing is emitting a light, and this golden light is going up, and where I'm at is big. Okay. It looked like there are levels. I could see levels above me going up, and this light is going up, and it's hitting what's on the top. It looks from that angle, it looked like black, the top of it. When I got to another level, I could see it a little better. It's a type of a black box, a huge black box that a lot of people have reported seeing different type of boxes. I've seen several different type of black boxes myself, but this one was very big, and the light is being polarized and is projecting it up to this box. And the first level I can see looks like some people up there. Like they look kind of weird, but there are people up there. And the thing I'm thinking is I want to go up there. So I see what looks like maybe could be a hallway. And when I start even moving towards that, suddenly I'm up on this other level. And I'm watching these people. It's a group of about 7, 8 people. And they look like they're partially phased out, and they're going over one at a time, and they're touching this light that is being projected going up past these decks, but it goes right by the rails. It's right there. So they were touching it. But like I said before, they were in their dream bodies. They were kind of phased out.
So they were humans. They were humans.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they were people. Okay. And they were touching this light. And you know what? And what I found out later is when you get a lot of contactees that touch the light, like I'm describing, in the middle of the craft like that, they report that this light that it turns into a wormhole, and they suddenly have access to the Akashic records. Now, keep that in mind when I told you how these singularities, the They actually are grown over singularity. The engine is a singularity. So it makes sense why a lot of contactees will report that. Sorry, I'm going probably too far left on you here.
Well, no, because I would say that generally physicists and certainly Stephen Hawking has addressed this, and he's gone back and forth, that information never goes away. So even in the event of achieving, how do I say this? Something going into a wormhole and going through the singularity and everything is disassembled, but the information is still there. Whatever that information is, right? It could be your memory, right? Does your memory get dissolved? Does information just go away because of being stretched out in the singularity of a black hole? The latest theories behind this is that the information doesn't go anywhere. It stays.
Well, that takes us into the quantum hologram deal. And what the quantum hologram is actually the information, that's new black hole theory, is that when you have something that actually goes through a wormhole, it creates an exact copy on the surface of it. And that is created by what they're calling the MACO, the magnetic eternally collapsing object. And that's the organic part of the wormhole that holds that copy. So in theory, when you have actually, so that's why when you see a UFO, sometimes you see one, then all of a sudden you'll see two, then just one, and then it'll be gone because you're seeing that quantum hologram, that double for a second, But in theory, if you have type 4, type 5 civilizations that are no longer in existence, but they were using the wormhole as their primary power source, it means they may still be existing and contacting us through the quantum hologram in the divine field. And that's why so much that our brain can interfere with how we deal with contact on the higher levels, because we get inundated with so much stuff about abduction and all that. Real quick, can I go back to something?
Sure.
On that engine, okay, I didn't go into this a lot, but that ball that is powering this thing or lighting up at the bottom, it looks very much, it's got these hexagons inside of it. It looks like almost a spherical honeycomb, all right? And that takes us into what our science calls the honeycomb conjecture and why bees actually use that form. And taking that a step forward, this thing looks like what our science found and calls now a fullerene, a buckyball. And a fullerene is supposedly the molecules that make up carbon. But I think that what they're doing here is they're using the molecules that make up orgone, life energy, what the Uranta book calls automatons, I believe. So anyway, so that's what they're doing, but they're somehow polarizing that and projecting that up in this column, and it's hitting this black box. And the black box, I believe, contains, they're communicating it to me as inertial dampener, but I think it contains what our science now calls negative mass. And they use that to create this anti-gravity field that they release around the skin of the craft before they make a frequency jump. That's my understanding of how they have explained it to me or sent it to me as information.
How big was this? How big is this black box?
It was big. Gosh, I would say at least, I say probably 50 feet across. It was big. And when I say it was big, it was like, imagine being in a building like a city building, and you can look up and you see the top of the ceiling, but it's this box. So it was the size of the entire top of this thing almost. It was huge. It was more wide. And I've got illustrations of this on my YouTube channel. Everything's on my YouTube channel. It's bigger than the light itself, if that makes sense. The light even was inside of it. So like the box is outside, the light was still polarized up, but it wasn't quite going outside of the box. So it told me that the box was somehow in control of how far the light was projecting outside. What we're dealing with, and I advise everybody when dealing with the craft, like what I'm talking about, we have to really start looking at vacuum engineering and where our science is going with vacuum engineering, because that's what this thing was. They're dealing with the vacuum energy and what they're calling politron, condensates, and things like that. A little bit beyond me, but I can see where our science is going, and I'm always trying to put what I saw was science. So everybody check out the fullerene, the buckyball, and the illustrations, and you'll see what I'm saying. But it's weird because it's cool to see our science catching up with what I saw that I couldn't explain, that I still don't have a full grasp on, but I'm getting there.
So so if that is 50 feet, 5 stories on a side, and it's a cube, it's up. That means the railing where the gold liquid light is being projected up, then that would be bigger than the cube because the cube is actually inside of the railing. So how big of a circle is this?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How big is this? It must be, 100 feet across? How big is it from side to side at the railings?
I'd say that's a better estimate. That's a better estimate. Probably about 100 feet, probably. Yeah, I mean, judging, because it would be, I was just on one side of it, though. And the other side, and you've got this light, so I couldn't see the other side. You know what I mean? The light is going the whole wide of the deck itself, at least by where I was standing anyway. So which is the middle of the craft, actually the middle. It's almost like, to me, it just looked like a building when you're like in a big building looking up. Or almost a mall when you can see the other levels.
Yeah.
You can see the levels, but it's like it's up there. And then this box was way up there above that. But when I got to the first level where I saw these people touching the light, I could see more that it was more square from there and more got an angle of it more than from being at the bottom where this fullerene thing was.
Right.
And there's a certain hum down there too. And to be honest, when I first saw the movie Contact, I tripped out. Because the thing that they were using in Contact to send her to the wormholes looked somewhat similar to how the rings are moving around this fullerene.
I thought the same thing the first time I heard you describe it and tell me about it. Did you, Barry, tell me the truth, man? Did you stick your hand in the light?
No, man, I got too sick. I didn't get over there. I didn't get fully over there. I can only go like to the side where, if anybody sees the illustration, there's like these little rods, these little rails that are going up that are supporting beams. I was standing by one of these supporting beams, but I didn't get much further than that because of the sickness. And it comes to a certain point where the sickness gets bad enough, I appear to like black out or something, and then that's the end of the experience.
Yeah, of course it would be.
Yeah.
Did you I'm glad you're laughing about it. It's really not that funny. It must have been intense. But did you want to put your hand in the light?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And more than that, some of the beings themselves, they look like this also. I was on a different experience on this craft that I think was almost a type of a pure conscious craft that they can frequency adjust to be more physical. But on this craft, I saw these beings, I almost call them light beings, and they were in these cocoon type of things, like these structures. This room almost looked like a cave, Jimmy, and it had these staglamites, and on the end of the staglamites were these like honeycomb structure. Once again, they weren't quite the fullerene circular, but they're kind of oval, but they're moving. And then I'll see these lights start sparkling on them and going around. And all of a sudden there'll be a light being that comes out. And I swear to you, when I see this light being, what they look like to me was they look like on the movie Cocoon when they drop their skin.
Right.
On that original movie Cocoon, they're like these glowing golden beings. They look like that because they're composed of this AGLE being, this energy, this life energy, this prana, this chi, that they're somehow making it even pure form. I think the most maybe creative form, prime creator form they can get it to. That's what I'm getting from it anyway.
Well, okay. So no bones, no internal structure, but it had a torso and legs. They had, arms. They had a shape to them, but it was pure energy.
Yeah. Yes. And in another room on that craft, on that experience, this other room, you might remember this. It looked to me, I think it was a bridge, but in this room, there's a black beam going up the middle of it. And in this room are these fissures opening and closing. They're like wormholes, portals. I could see them, but they're very vivid, and they're opening and closing, and jumps in front of me is some type of, it looks like a type of plasma, and then it suddenly starts unfolding. And when it starts unfolding, it looks almost like, if you see the way a sunflower opens up, it looks like it's doing that. And then it jumps into one of these wormholes off the ground and jumps into one of these wormholes. It closes, another one opens, it comes out of the other one. And they're communicating to me that they're like fish out of water in our density, in our dimension. And many times when I was out in fields practicing like that Carlos Castaneda, the gate of power and stuff like that, right, I would see these blue flashes around me all the time. And I thought, for all I knew, they were fairies. I don't know. But it never dawned on me that actually those would be some of these beings in our dimension using these wormholes, these fish out of water. That's why they go out so quick. A lot of times people call them wisps, but it never dawned on me I was having some type of a contact at even that point. I might see a craft after out in the field after I'm trying this exercise, but I didn't think these blue flashes were connected to it, or that those could even possibly be some of the entities on the eggs, inside the eggs on the other type of craft I talked to. So what we're talking about is, what is it really like to be on a multidimensional ship? What is it like to physically be there? It's definitely not like Spock isn't over there, Kirk isn't over there. It's not like that.
Is the entire experience multidimensional? I mean, it sounds to me like, okay, maybe the engine room was physical and there and maybe didn't change, but everything else was a dimension that you were stepping in and out of, that there wasn't anything that was permanent or physical about the craft.
That one to me seemed a little more so, and it seemed that there was more metal involved in that craft, like the supports, the supporting beams, and a lot of the supports and the metals, the walls, they look like they were a type of a metal. So to me, that craft maybe was even a little less organic than the other one I described in the adult onset. The next experience, it was maybe a little less, maybe a little more metal and nut and bolts. I don't know. I can't prove that because I can't even tell you what that craft looked like on the outside. I woke up inside, so I don't know.
Right. It reminds me of, and you told me about all of this before the movie Interstellar even came out. But the experiences that Matthew McConaughey was going through when he first entered the Tesseract, right? And everything was changing and moving as he was going through it. And it was infinite, right? It was infinite, but you wouldn't see it from the outside of the Tesseract. Makes sense?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, fascinating.
I think too, when you're around this energy, one of these engines, like I said, that's not the only engine I've seen or have illustrations of. I've seen others. But when you get around this, or you're on board this craft, or these beings that are dealing with these wormholes, this singularity, I think it irradiates your body. It does something to you, to a point of where when I meet other contactees, I can sense this energy on them. Almost like Highlander, all the immortals can sense each other. They get that buzz.
Sure.
It's kind of like that to a degree. So some of the people in these, what we see in these communities, they claim to be these big contactees, but when I meet them, I don't feel that, and I get a big question over my head, quick question mark. Now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I'm glad you brought that up because before we get to the break, I've got about 60 seconds. Did the sickness follow you back to Earth?
I would say yes, but it started off, there's this huge elation after the experience itself. This elation, you're all hyped up. At least I was. But after a while, I'd say, after maybe half a day that falls off, and all of a sudden you're going through the sleep. You're sleeping for a while, like for a couple of days, sleeping more than what you normally would. Right. And I don't sleep much, so that's how it was for me. So I think that's something about the higher vibration. You carry that back, but the more it fades, the more that sickness kicks in and you feel the physical effects altogether. To the point of where, as a child, I hated merry-go-rounds. Now I know why,
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Barry Littleton. Barry, fascinating conversation. We're going to continue all of this when we come back after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I have got Barry's Twitter up, and it is just so it's official. What'd I do with it? Oh, man, I lost it. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend. Let's face it, you've always wanted to do a sky watch and see your first UFO. Today, it's easy. Just get your own HP7 3B Cobalt Jimmy Church Edition night vision goggles from Hoffman's Optics. This is the same U.S. military system that I use, featuring a Generation 3 blue phosphor image tube. That's right, it's blue, not black and green. This is the only blue system in the world, and it's waterproof, lightweight, combat-proof, simple to use, and ready to go. Hoffman's Optics help create night vision sky watches, and now you can see what everyone has been talking about each night from your own backyard. Just call 760-231-9929. That's 760-231-9929. You can click on the banners on our site or visit UFOnightvisiongoggles.com. That's UFOnightvisiongoggles.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Barry Littleton. Tomorrow night, host to host with Race Hobbs. Race is going to be with us for the full show tomorrow night. Now, Barry, let's get back to this this experience in the engine room. This was that ride on the craft. On future rides, were you also exposed to different ET tech?
Yes.
Take us through it.
Yes. The other one would be actually on the acid rain experience. In the next room, like behind where the screen was, there was a very large engine back there.
And what did it look like? And the question that I have is, and we went through this before, but these are the same. It's the same civilization visiting you in these craft, right? It's not a different planetary system or a different star system. It's the same civilization, right?
No, it's completely different. It's an alliance is what it is. And you've got different beings, like you've got the insectoid like Xandar. You have another one that very few of them have given me names. Another one named Mana, and Mana looked like a reverse brain on the outside. The closest correlation I can tell you, and it would come up later, is brain coral. Looks like brain coral.
Right.
Its head does, yeah. So they were different, and then you've got also the lights inside of the eggs. So you've got several different types of beings on board these crafts.
But the reason why I bring this up is because generationally speaking, as you were growing up, you found out that they have been watching you for a while, and there was a time travel element to this, and that when you saw Xandar in the future, you found out that he was Xandar in the past, right? He was the kid.
Yeah, the same one. And that was, for the sixth grade, it was just, a few years for me at that time. But when I saw him there, and, it took me a long time. I was trying to digest exactly why I saw him on the craft in that uniform without his ball cap and without his weird sunglasses, his kitty cats, that I could see he was an insectoid. But yet when he was interacting with me and we're playing on the street, he seemed to be almost like a human. I mean, the hat and the glasses were weird, but nothing that would make you say, "Oh, hey, that's a big bug walking around."
Right.
You know what I mean? So that, it says something about what they do consciously through the optical nerves, I believe. And I say that due to an experience I had on that craft from the first onset experience, where there's this being in this room with a very deep mist in there that I called the mother of the hybrids. I saw no hybrids in there, but this technology was guarding, and also the way it cared about it. But this being, when it's communicating with me, actually did what we call bilocation. It bilocated me from across the room. Suddenly it's like I was floating towards it, but I know now, and then I smashed up against this huge melanin dominant eye. But I know now that this being, they have technology that does this, but consciously she did something that she dislocated my energy body and brought it towards her right there in her presence. So that says a lot about where these beings are at consciously. I don't know any person that could do that.
So let's get back to this first engine.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's we're just having a conversation, Barry. Let's get back to the first engine. What did it look like?
It's actually the one I just described. That's the one I described. It's got the fullerene in it. That would be the first engine I had seen. That detailed like that.
Okay. Now.
Or do you mean child experiences? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Don't throw me off. I think that I'm following all of this and I'm absorbing it, and then you just. Okay, I'm confused.
Well, the reason why I asked is when in the acid rain experience, I saw an engine there too. That would be the first one, but that wasn't adult experiences.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, that one. That would be on this craft. It was in the back, but this thing was huge. Okay, it looked different. Do you want me to describe it?
Yes, of course.
Okay. This thing has got, first of all, it's in a type of tube, and inside of that are these huge metal folding things that come up, and inside of that are these 3 crystals. And when I tell you this thing was huge, these crystals I put about the size of a basketball goal, 9-10 feet tall, and about 3 feet wide. There were 3 of them, and they appeared to be wrapped in what looked like, to me, it looked like copper. And something about these crystals, like all the devices I've seen them using and all the crystals I've seen them using, they're producing some type of a bio or chemical luminescence from the inside. They're pulsing light from the inside, a yellowish, pinkish glow. Okay. And then at one point, these things start spinning. These things start spinning so fast, and they start creating this hum that I can't see them anymore almost. But this basal hum that's so loud, and it sounds almost like when the doggone elder is swinging that bull roar, that device, it makes this woo 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 woo.
Right.
A lot of the crafts sound like that, but this makes that sound. And Xandar over there is communicating to me that sound that you're hearing. Said this engine, this does not just power planetoids, small planet legion ships and small planetoids. It also can heal human flesh. That's what he said. That's what he communicated to me. Now that takes us into really, what is it about the hum? What is it about the glow I was seeing this thing create that can actually heal people? So I think a lot of people may see these engines, they bring them near in dream body or in astral, I don't know, to get healed or physically. So it just takes us to another premises, I think, about life energy.
Reminds me a little bit of what Travis Walton describes now, that he was injured outside of the craft, and they injured him, and they brought him on board to heal him. That, maybe out of guilt, right? But he was injured, and he was knocked to the ground, and he feels that they brought him on board to heal him.
You know something that interests me about him? He describes these 2 Nordics with these tight blue suits on.
That's right.
And, I had an experience where, and that's why I had to kind of lay off the Kevin Sorbo joke a little bit, because I had not thought I had experienced any of these Nordics, but I found I had. But you know what? They had on these tight blue suits, and also a little bit different than what Travis showed, but between Travis and the other gentleman, George Adamski, that said he had the people from Venus, they had on these blue suits too. And I think personally that we're dealing with a time war, and that these beings are humans from the future, but that they're trying to maybe preserve our timeline. Something's going on.
Do you think that the other beings, the insectoids, the brain, right, that these other beings, are they from the future too as well? Do they know about, what's about to happen to us here?
Now, I will say, Xander, I don't know, but Mana would be one there. And I encountered that being on a couple of different craft. So I started wondering, and I wonder why some of these beings would communicate with me when I was younger, and then they step back and they're not like here and now, or I'm not having interaction with them now, But I wake up one night, Jimmy, one morning, and I'm just tripped out on coral bleached coral. Excuse my language, but I don't even know what the HE double hockey sticks that was. So I had to research it and find out really what the bleaching of the coral is. And I started putting together, okay, Mana's giving me this information during when I was sleeping. But now when I start looking at how their heads look like brain coral, and the fact that the coral is being bleached, but they're making these things, the scientists are trying to develop this thing called supercoral that is resistant to the bleaching effect of the coral. And, the barrier reef dies, we're in big trouble here.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, so I'm wondering why would that being that says it's from outside of the space-time continuum too, and from a water world out there, why would it be so involved with the Earth matrix? So for all we know, that could be a type of supercoral that evolves sentient and goes out, or it was here once. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just making conjecture, but there's got to be a reason why they're all interacting with the Earth matrix so much.
The engine from the Xandar trip, Did you get any information about how they were using that? Again, in a linear sense, with speed, or are they doing something else with it? Folding space, wormholes, black holes?
All I got was power. And when he's communicating power legion ships and small planetoids, I would guess it's just generally a power source. But what's so interesting about that is what factor are they exploiting the healing factors of it? There must be a huge healing factor with this engine also. So I'm wondering how much of that are they using also in conjunction with just a power source? Is it all one? I mean, I don't know. You got me on that one.
Yeah. Any black box with that first engine?
No, I didn't see a black box in there.
And what about the fungus organic side of the craft? Did you get that from the Xandar trip?
That honestly, that one was also more metal, and the deck plates that like he was floating over and stuff. It seemed to me it looked like kind of like there were these like lights on them, and like some of the panels I'd seen, and to me the lights kind of man, they kind of look like that. You remember that Simon Says game, the electronic game?
I do.
Kind of the configuration of the lights were shaped like that, but they're on the deck plates. I mean, it almost look like you want to jump on them and do a Gregory Hines on it or something, But
right, John Travolta.
But the lights were insulated with metal, so there was because the deck itself looked metal, as to where that one didn't appear to be organic like the other craft I was on.
But there was something. The reason why I bring this up is I want you. This is where we're going to talk about you looking through the window back down onto the street, because that feels to me like there's some kind of time travel going on. Take us through that.
Okay, that would be the deal with my mother. That after looking at the magazine, the Omni magazine, I had to have her describe the experience, and she's getting a bit irritated, but to really trigger my memory. And only time, and I can remember everything. How can I remember getting a Stretch Armstrong and not remember seeing this UFO fully? And that only happens when I start dealing with them and their technologies. That's the only time I start missing. That's essentially missing time. So I had to go ahead. I wanted to see exactly what I saw. So I got a regression down to the theta. And when I find out what it is that they have bilocated me during that experience. And how many of us actually have experiences where we're being bilocated and perhaps being unaware of it? But I do know something about this technology causes a sleepiness also. So what they've done is I'm standing on this craft. And what's something about this craft I want to point out, all right? The others that I've been on, even the ones that seem to be more metal, they don't have windows. You know what I mean? Because they're organic. So they're not windows there. But this craft had what appear to be windows on the outside. And when I'm on the inside standing there, there's this gentleman, this Nordic gentleman, who I would meet not long afterwards in a store. When I'm with my mother, he approached me in a store. So this gentleman is definitely corporeal. But he's standing up. There are two gentlemen sitting down, and they look quite similar to him, Jimmy. I don't want to say they were twins, but they look like they could be more than fraternal relation. They're sitting down, and they've got these boxes on their uniforms, these like metal boxes. So the seats were even low enough to where they wouldn't interfere with that box. And this gentleman, Alex, as he's telepathically telling me, he's standing up, and he moves his arm against this metal wall, and suddenly it like flashes, and it's see-through. I can see actually the city I lived in. I can see the water tower. I could look down below us, and I could see my mother and myself. And my mom is looking at this craft, and I'm looking down at the ground. I must be thinking about Stretch Armstrong, in that body. But here, I'm actually watching this. So that led me to believe, this was so transparent that it looked like if I would have, thinking that I had legs, I would have like almost have fallen through. You know what I mean? You can see like almost where your feet would be. It's going that far. You can see through. Mm-hmm. So that leads me to believe that we're dealing with what that is some type of a holographic recorder. And what better way for time travelers to record any history event, any type in history? So I think that was a time ship.
That's what it sounds like that to me, that the energy on that ship was able to be used for some type of time travel. The way that you describe it to me, I'm picturing you are there. You're not watching a recording. You're watching the actual event itself. Right? In 3D, you're watching the whole thing. You can look to the horizon. You can see everything around you. It's not a camera focused on you guys. You're seeing your entire city. You're seeing that. And it seems to me that you are watching, you're back in time. You've gone back and now you're watching it happen in real time. You're reacting your own way on the ship. You're a different person. You're not the same person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I think, that you went back in time to go back to the event. And nonetheless, they show you this event. Why do you think that they took you back to see it?
It gets interesting because I enjoy dealing with people that claim to be able to see, and I'd had a psychic that was well known in my city, and I went to see her many times. And she had told me during one of these quote unquote readings that I had seen a ship as a kid, and that I had a friend on this craft that gave me something. I just looked at her like, okay, yeah, right, you do age freak. I haven't seen a ship with a parent. And she looks at me and she says, you have, and you can't remember it because they were watching you, and it was about you. It wasn't just some scout mission like you were thinking. And, when it goes down later, I find out that I encountered this gentleman in a shop. My mother was an antique collector. So not later on that year, I was still 7, that I encountered this gentleman at this antique mall or at this antique shop. And he comes out and he's actually knew the people that worked there, apparently. And I wanted this rock. And he talks to me. And the first thing he says to me is, young man, do you think igneous rocks are metamorphic by nature? And I told him, I said, yeah, but it needs to be more like, Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby. The Incredible Hulk was big back then. It needs to be an immediate metamorphical change. And he says, no, it doesn't work like that. We just got to talking. And my mother's just on the other side of the room. So I'm in no jeopardy from this man. All right. But we got to talking. And I'll tell you this right now, Jimmy, who do you know that comes up and says something like that to a 7-year-old unless you know something about them, unless you know what they're into? How did he know I was into rocks and into stones? But I didn't realize how much that is connected to the contact phenomenon until I got older.
He could have been a new age freak.
Well, he wasn't Sorbo, at least.
Yeah, you know what's funny? By you saying new age freak, and now you are, right?
Oh, so I am.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You're in our community, man. You're in our community. I don't know if I would call myself a new age freak, but I definitely dip my toes.
Well, I was younger then. I was a little more harsh,
And how are you today? I mean, are you still making contact? Is this stuff when was the last time you made contact that you know of?
If information wise, I get information quite a bit. But the last time I had my socks blown off was at that Ascetti Ranch. I thought, to be honest with you, I thought I was at a point in my life. I'm not a young guy. I'm not ready for the 3 legs yet, the cane, but I'm not young. And I thought the point in my life where I had these physical experiences that just stopped my whole world and blew me away were done. Until I went out to that ranch and I got blown away the first 2 years I was out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was with me. Interesting.
The second time I was there, I met you. Yeah, and all sorts of weird stuff was going on. And I mean, if you combine that with the very real Squatch thing going on out there, it's just about and the fact you've got these devices in some mountains and some places on Earth that are from the past Type 1 civilization that was here, they're still functioning, and you get some of us around them or near them. We have the right DNA, the right genetic code, the right spirit code, whatever, we activate these things, and where things starts happening when we're near them.
What is interesting to me is you are very detailed about your information. You've brought a lot of stuff forward. I know that there is, and you've never said this to me, but I know that there is stuff that you haven't mentioned. When people come up to you and start to say that they've had a similar experience and they are also giving you, do you ever hear stuff from others that you haven't revealed, but you hear it from somebody else and you get a little bit freaked out because you know that their experience was a real one?
Yeah. That does happen sometimes, definitely. Somebody will say something that's so heavy that it will blow you away, or something they just couldn't possibly have known. You know, the first time that happened to me, a lady had hosted a conference. The first one I went to was 1994, and she was featuring a guy named Randolph Winters, talking about Billy Myers. Spent a bunch of time with him. And I wanted to see the pictures to see if the pictures he had looked like the craft I saw. But she claimed to be a walk-in. And at times you would be talking to her, and she's about probably, 70 some years old. You're talking to her, then all of a sudden she would just kind of shake her head down, and then she started talking like a little girl. And for me, getting my psychology degree, I was like, okay, this is like an older Sally Field. This is some Sybil going on here.
Right.
Multiple personality disorder. But it turns out I'm back in this room she has in her house, and Jimmy, she's got all these different beings that she's hand painted on the wall, like on these collages. And it was really unreal how good they were and things. And I've got another woman down there, this psychic. She's talking to me, and she's telling me things about my experiences she should have known. And then this woman of the conference comes in, and she's in little woman form, or little girl form, and the little girl starts telling me things about my contact experiences I never told anyone. Things like I ran sometimes when these ships get too close. I mean, I know everybody's into Skywatch right now, CE5. Hey, that's real cool. Much power to that. But the truth is, in my life, when those ships get too close and you start feeling that humming, it leads to missing time, and it makes your normal life very hard to deal with. So a few times those ships got real close to me, and I got out of there. And she started telling me things like that. And she knew these certain things about my contact that just blew me away. And it made me think, so she's saying she's a walk-in from this area of space. It probably isn't all crap. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. Hey, Barry.
Yeah.
You want to hang on for another segment and take some phone calls?
Absolutely. Get blasted by your audience.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You want to take some phone calls?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do that. 747-228-2051. 747-228-2051. And if you have any questions for Barry or any comments, now's your opportunity. We've never done that before. It'll be great. So, Barry, let's do that. And the information that you're getting, again, 747-228-2051, the information that you're getting now, how does it come to you?
Normally it's by telethought. I call it telethought transmission, and it's not all, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it'll happen. It happened a lot. Sometimes I may even wake up in the morning with a few times I do sleep, and before I go for a morning walk, which is, before 6 a.m., and I'm waking up and information, they start filtering in as I'm walking, or things like that, or they'll guide me to things. So it comes in like that a lot. And like something like last time we talked, it was the fast radio bursts. I didn't know what that was. I woke up being told that that's like a galactic trade route type of thing for civilizations that really do have Dyson spheres, So anyway.
Are you able to remember everything?
Some things. That's the thing about the contact phenomenon. Even the physical experiences, although you're aware of being there, and then the further you get from the event horizon, the more it starts to fade. I think, like I mentioned before, that's the vibrational difference. So that makes the whole thing fragmented, especially when you've been somewhere and you can't fully recall it, but you can still see the technology. You can see the beings. You can remember some of the information you were communicated with telepathically, but you're missing all this time. things are becoming more fragmented, that's always an issue. That's why I advise anyone who is a contactee experiencer, don't be afraid to deal with your own consciousness and go get some hypnosis done, some regressions. Don't let anyone tell you because you've got one or two people that have a couple letters behind their name say, oh, nothing in that is valid. Nothing your subconscious says is valid. Don't let them, and who are they to discourage you from exploring your own consciousness and your own experiences? Don't let them do it.
No, anybody like that with letters behind their name and say anything like that, I'm serious. Plane is going down. It's about to crash. They are the most spiritual people on this planet. Guaranteed, man. Guaranteed. I guarantee it. Barry, stay right there. Let's take our break. This is Fade to Black. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls. 747-228-2051. Again, 747-228-2051. Your phone calls with Barry Littleton are next. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Come join us for the StarWorks UFOs and Artificial Intelligence Conference, November 6th through the 8th at the Aquarius Resort in Laughlin, Nevada. A full weekend of events with Grant Cameron, James Fox, Alan Stivelman, Sid Goldberg, Jaime Maussan, Lynn Katai, Paul Hynek, and another dozen great speakers and presenters. Special Fade to Black Sky Watches with Hoffman's Optics on Thursday and Friday nights. Movie premieres, a cocktail party, a dinner gala. Get your discount ticket packages today at StarWorksUSA.com. I'll be there along with the entire Fade to Black crew. Start planning your weekend now for the StarWorks UFOs and Artificial Intelligence Conference, November 6th through the 8th at the Aquarius Resort in Laughlin, Nevada. Just visit StarWorksUSA.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, doing some overtime with Barry Littleton. I've opened up the phone line, 747-228-2051. And 747-228-2051. And Barry, before we get to the phone calls, which I'm going to get to in just a bit, you keep mentioning, and I'm very curious about this, the event horizon. And when you speak about that, the event horizon of a black hole, right?
Yeah, or of a contact experience.
I need some clarification. Look, the event horizon. Because one of the reasons why I find this so interesting is because of the time shifting element of that. The closer you get to the event horizon, the more that time slows down. Right? And once you are fully into it, the math says that time may even come close to actually standing still.
Yeah, the thing is, because when you're dealing with these beings that can bend the space-time continuum, it's like all deals are off. So maybe not just the vibrational difference in the experience itself, but also you could be dealing with the type of time dilation. Because when I say that is what I mean is because after the experience is over and you're being sent back, you're living this, it's happening. But then as soon as you get back or you're not on the craft and not in the face of these beings, it starts fading. The information starts fading. The experience starts fading the further you get away time-wise. So that's why I say the event horizon being the experience itself, which does actually, comparing it to what you're saying, does actually happen on board craft, which is around one of these singularities, one of these temporal radiation or whatever it is, Hawking radiation, whatever the heck it is. So you are going to be dealing with that too. So maybe that is also part of the time dilation for when after the experience is over, it starts fading,
Interesting.
I think even some of these beings have a biofield that when you are in their presence, you can perceive them more in their presence. But when you're not in their presence and you turn your back, it starts hard to remember what they look like, what they were, but you just know you just had a contact or in the presence of something. I think even Doctor Who created some beings called the Silence. They try to pick that up. But I think that's a real phenomenon. Some beings that maybe have developed that as a defense mechanism within their biofield, maybe some that just have such a fast vibration that is an effect of it, a side effect.
I also feel that with Hollywood, whether it's a feature film or a television series, some of this stuff, even a lot of it, is so close to the mark, it makes me wonder where they are getting their information from. Either a direct contactee experience, or they have information that they are trying to convey out to the public. I really feel that, especially not only Doctor Who, which is crazy at points, but like the X-Files, for instance. or Stranger Things. You know, some of the you're watching this, you're going, man, there's something going on here for sure. Let me do this. I'm bringing in a couple of more calls, and then let's get straight to them. One other quick question while I'm doing this is: are some of these visits happening when you're sleeping?
You know, for me, when I was younger, that's how it would start. But I would be woken up, you know, as soon as the experience starts, not at home. So that's where a lot of that would happen for me. I'm not one. I'm more into the physical experiences. I always was. I don't talk about my astral and dream. I've had those, but I don't talk about those as much, just because, to be honest, they're not quite as tangible to me.
Right.
And that's not to discredit anyone else that's having them. That doesn't mean they're not real. You know, I try to go over that. But for me, just when I talk about the things that, for me, when I can touch something and feel things, that's more realistic to me. You know, it's third dimensional hard evidence.
That's right. That's right. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Is this me?
Yes, it's you. Who's this?
Oh, wow. Hey, hi. Hi, Jimmy. Thank you. And hi, Barry. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. I don't know where to begin. But thank you for speaking with us. Can you ever call them? I mean, like, can you say anything like, hey, you know, like, I need you. I'd like to, you know, talk to you guys or anything like that, or see you? Can you, like, call in a ship maybe?
Oh, what's your name?
Oh, my name is D, ABCD.
ABCD. Got it, D. All right. Barry, can you call in ships?
Hello, D. How you doing? Thanks for the question.
Hey, Barry.
And the kindness. You know, for me, I was never as much into that. And when I used to try to, like, evoke an experience, because especially when I went through that time when I wasn't having any, between the age of about 12 to about 17, I wanted to try to get some technology or find some way I could prove this. So I tried to make the contact experiences happen, and it never worked. It only happened on their time. Even now, sometimes I'll try to hit them, you know, telepathic, open up a channel or something, and I won't get anything. It won't come through. Sometimes they just do it at their given times. Now, I can't say that works for everybody. Some people can. And in fact, the first time I'd never done a Skywatch before. The first time I did one was with you, Jimmy Church, out there. And I'll tell you, that for me was somewhat like pulling teeth, because I'd never done it before, and I was worried, like, oh no, and everybody was judging people. If you don't get no ships to show up, you're like not a real contactee. So I was like, oh Lord, please don't let me down.
but what a night we had, though. That was just incredible. D, you said you had a bunch of questions.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, did you ever feel or was there anything that they wanted, information that they wanted to convey to you, or did they? Did they ever say? Did they ever telepathically or any way ever communicate to you, like, like, why you?
Yeah, you know, it's about, I think it comes a lot for remembering who we are. And when I say that, a lot of us, we incarnate here devoid of soul life memories. And we're quote unquote immortal souls. Another experience would be actually what I call the biobed experience. That's on my YouTube channel also. But what this was this experience. This was with my ex. We're out on this trampoline, and we have this experience with a bunch of missing time. And I can see this information. I can see these instruments these beings were using. Okay. And what it turns out is, for like, this was a room I went to that when I go to this room, it turns out there's a big bed in there that looks like got these crystal stones on it, and like rubies and sapphires, they're all melted together. And they persuade me to get on this bed. And these little blue guys, this one time they gave me a name. They said they're Andromedan council members. They were one of the beings in this room. And they've got these devices that are, they look like rods with these crystals on them, odd-shaped crystals with what looks like fiber optics coming out of them, moving. And they're moving these things around me. And on this bed, there's this light, and it's moving along my back. I can barely feel it. And it's amazing I could even lay on this bed, because it looked like it would have been painful. And when I'm asked them, what are you doing? I'm thinking, like, are you copying me? Because it looks like it's a copying process. And they say, no, what it is and this is all coming in so fast that we're awakening the light quanta of your DNA because you're not awake enough. I'm like, I am awake. They're saying not enough because you don't believe in yourself. And we find that very painful. We don't understand it. That's what and I'm feeling emotion of sadness coming from them.
Wow.
And at that time, I didn't know exactly what it meant. But as far as speaking out, I was one of those guys like, oh, I'll tell people about it. But that was just talk. I really probably wasn't.
Dee, thank you for the phone call. 2 great questions.
All right, can I ask one more question?
Okay, real quick. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you have any idea, like maybe what star family you're from, or who they are?
Yeah, well, they gave their alliance the name, and I was 36 years old before I finally got a name. And the name they gave me was Extragalactic Interdimensional Cooperative Alliance. And they say they go from the micro to the macro. And I know what that means now when we start dealing with nano and stuff like that. So we're dealing with the big fact, they emphasize cooperative. So we're dealing with the big interdimensional factor also. Some of these beings are coming from dimensions that may even be here related to Earth. I don't know. But I think that kind of makes it a little more nebulous. For me, when I would get frustrated, when I would just find out things, people always say, well, everybody comes from the Pleiades or Sirius or Arcturus, and none of these beings were coming from these. They're telling me places to go out so far that are, other galaxies. So we have to start looking at the fact we've got trillions of galaxies in this universe.
That's right.
And a lot of us are having extragalactic contact experiences. So that's all I can say. There's certain parts of the universe or certain galaxies I resonate with, like Abell, the Virgo Sombrero galaxy, Andromedan, some of those that I think I've been through, and I have family from there, but it's not just as cohesive as saying everybody's from here. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Dee.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah,
thank
you. Yeah, awesome. That's why right there, Barry, that's why I love the Fadernauts. And that was a first-time caller, too. Thank you so much, Dee. And, I totally agree with you, Barry. We hear so many familiar names when we hear about star clusters or galaxies. With you, it's not. It's a bell. There you go. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. Say hi to Barry.
Hi, Barry.
Hi, Jennifer. How you doing?
Great. I'm so happy to be talking to you guys.
What's your question, Jennifer?
One of my questions might be off topic. I've been listening to you guys, and I'm not sure. I haven't been following what you guys have actually been talking about for the last 30 minutes. But I was wondering what happened with Corey Good.
I don't know.
Because he kind of disappeared off social media. His following has dropped significantly. And I was just wondering, is there some kind of rift in the relationship between him and the exopolitics community?
Yeah, I have no idea. I haven't followed Corey for almost 2 years, so I don't have any comments there. Barry, same thing?
Well, all I know is I talked to him once. He said he saw black extraterrestrials. That's what I was concerned with. I don't know the rest of the stuff.
There you go. There you go, Jennifer. But yeah, I just haven't followed any of that, so I don't really have I can't answer the question.
Okay,
yeah,
my question
yes
is if obviously I'm sure you all are following what's happening in the world, and I was wondering what your take is on things that are currently, going down in the world as far as the explosions, volcano eruptions, the recent executive orders that have been passed by Donald Trump. I was wondering if you have any take on what's happening. Do you know where this is going? What we should look for?
Barry?
I think the first thing is that, we're dealing with a very real pole shift. And a lot of things we're seeing the Earth responding to is this pole shift we're going through. And the fact that the Earth has been damaged so much. The next thing is, without taking it too far, when examining the virus itself, especially the C word virus. Look at how they look, and like something like the bacteriophage that attacks actually fungus and other bacteria. Look at the way they look. If you want to talk about an alien organism, and if you want to take about an invasion as far as introducing some type of a self-replicating machinery organically into a population, I think you might be looking at it. Look at how some of those viruses look. And also something else I'll throw in is that I think there's been a war going on a long time between space microbes and the Earth here, based on some of the things we've done in space. I think we're seeing that, and along the lines of maybe something close to New World Order martial law. It seems like that's what's going down to me anyway.
Yeah. I'm so nervous with that. And Jennifer, and my only comment to that is there is so much energy flying around on this planet right now, both negative and positive, right? There's so many of us that want good things to come out, and we've got to get to the other side, but there's so much negative energy and divisiveness that there is no way that we aren't affected by it all. And I really appreciate you pointing that out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the collective consciousness of the planet is being affected by all of this, and that's probably one of the main agendas, I think, with some of these, very high-powered people and groups that are kind of ruling over the planet right now, and they're battling against each other, and we're kind of just in the middle of all of this war, and we're trying to make sense of how to deal with all of this, because we're people that have families, we have jobs. I'm a registered nurse. I'm taking care of people that are affected by COVID, and I'm seeing it firsthand. And I think that what Americans are looking for is they're looking for some kind of understanding of what's going on in the world right now, so they can take the best action to move forward with their lives. And ultimately, we all just want to really take care of our kids. We want to make sure that we're leaving this planet in good shape for our descendants.
Yeah, I know. We're all used to making plans. We can't make plans right now. It's just crazy. Jennifer, thank you for the phone call. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great phone call right there, Barry.
It's worth remembering, that a lot of negative entities, negative forces, they attack through trapped emotions. And right now, a lot of things are going, this world runs on a lot of anger and fear, a lot. And that's what's being mongered right now. And that's what keeps this place under control of the dark individuals that run it. And that's what's running amok right now, is fear and anger.
Let's continue. I've got time for one more phone call. So let me get this last one in. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Whoa.
How you doing, Jimmy? This is David I'm in South Georgia right here in good old Lakeland.
How you doing, David? Say hi to Barry.
How you doing, Barry?
Hey, greetings, David. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I was actually calling. Hey, I'm taking a good sip of this River Moon right now, Jimmy.
Yeah,
right
on. Right on, David. So am I.
I know we're short on time. I know that I wanted to ask Barry actually about like any knowledge he has on, like, I know we always hear about ETs, extraterrestrials, aliens, like that it comes peaceful. And I've always wanted to know, like, is there anything like, I remember seeing an old movie about like adrenal crumb and all that stuff like that, or taking adrenal gland out of the people and all that stuff. But I wanted to know like what is most frightening.
Say okay, one at a time. David, what's your question? You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just wanting to see like what his knowledge of probably like the most frightening experience about ETs or anything, any knowledge about like something that could be bad.
Okay.
We always hear about the good and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, all right, David, great question. Barry, any scary moments? What was your scary moment?
Well, I mean, for me, it's always just being in the presence of a non-human first is scary, and number two, not knowing what's actually going to happen. And number three would be the fact you've got entities that both consciously and through technology can manipulate your perception. And they can fool you, they can trick you through holograms and all sorts of other things. So that is a real problem. And a real problem that on this planet here, that may be a prison planet, you've got tricksters and beings that are trying to consume awareness and life memories. And what they do is they'll very easily project to you the alien abduction thing very, very quickly. It's got a sexual connotation to it or whatever it might be. That's a very big problem too. So not just getting attacked by negative entities, but dealing with beings with technology so much far advanced of us that they can fool our perception. They can trick us through invisibility, through holograms, through mirages, whatever the case may be, virtual reality. That's an issue. So when dealing with it, we may not always know who we're dealing with in terms of what their motives is. I think that's a real problem.
David, thank you for the phone call and a great question. And also go back, Lee Tepe. Barry, what about what about intelligence? Did you ever feel dumb? Did you feel like, an ant, that they were just so superior that you were nothing? Did you ever get that vibe?
The energy and the love energy they're always projecting at me kind of stopped that a little bit. But I would at times feel insufficient in terms of the telepathic communication, in terms they were so much ahead of me on it, and that they would hit me with so much that I couldn't pick it all up at once. I knew I was getting all this information, so that made it seem like they were just more advanced. Or even some of the humanoids I've encountered that I call charters, their energy seems like it pushes you. Not the way somebody that has ADHD or something does, their energy, not erratic like that, but just like it's more advanced. Like they're on top of you telepathically, like they're just a little more like from the future, like they're just hundreds of years more advanced than us. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And for anybody that wants to follow Barry, you can follow him on Twitter at NightCloud2005. And of course, he's over on Facebook too as well, Barry Littleton. Barry, before I let you go, how often do you put up new information on your YouTube channel?
I've been getting to the point I've been almost putting something every week up there. I do most of my work on Patreon. I got a lot of work over there. Those people are wonderful, but I try to put stuff on YouTube usually almost every week. And I say anybody wants to check out my YouTube channel, please check out the playlist because there's hundreds of videos on there, but a lot of them don't come up on a general look. If you typed in my name, it won't come up on the search. So please look at the playlist.
Yeah, I remember. And what about your website, BarryLittleton.com?
Yeah, that's still actually, I got a friend in town that's going to help me design that a little better. I'm not much with websites, but there is a link to my Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube channel on there. So that's kind of working in progress.
No, it's come a long ways. I remember you calling me up one day going, Church, I started a website because you told me I had to have one. Do you remember? You remember that? And and I went over and checked it out, and you did it all yourself. And I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. It's come a long way, and so have you, Barry, both with yourself and the community, and of course the interfacing that you do with YouTube. I really enjoy it, and I spend a lot of time over there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for everything. I really appreciate it.
I can't wait. I'm going to bring you back. We're going to do a full night of phones, and I want to do this as soon as possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And Barry, you've got the best laugh in all of ufology.
Hey, one thing real quick.
Sure.
That engine, when anybody looks at it, one thing too, that engine, when they're actually converting, like when you see UFOs over water sometimes, they're pulling that life energy out of the water. So when they actually start getting ready to release that anti-gravity field, however they're doing it, and also this conversion process creates a type of a mist, a fog, and they'll use that as for invisibility. So when we see lenticular clouds, sometimes they may not be what you think, or especially the clouds that have rainbow stripes in them. Check those out. Something about the conversion, they do that. Sorry, that's all.
Barry Littleton. Thank you, Barry, man. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Hey, thank you for everything, Jimmy. I appreciate you.
You're the best, Barry. Barry Littleton. And yes, BarryLittleton.com. We have the links over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. You can follow Barry on Twitter at NightCloud2005. We've got that up in Twitter. And, of course, Barry Littleton on Facebook. Tomorrow night, right here on Fade to Black, it's Race Hobbs, host to host. That's right. You're going to want to hang out with all of that tomorrow night. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camurian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Race Hobbs, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.